The first of this week's 2 episodes essentially follows Emerie Karr at Mount Tantus as she has an identity crisis, as the title of the episode suggests. But more specifically, she as well as us as the viewers witness yet another cruel and remorseless side of the Empire, and Dr. Hemlock in particular. The episode begins on an icy, mountainous-looking planet where a citizen witnesses a child toss a pot, though he states that the child isn't physically strong enough to be able to perform such a task, giving him a hunch that the child is Force-sensitive, especially after overhearing 2 other citizens talk about how anything regarding the Force or any child potentially possessing a high midichlorian count is basically taboo, as they don't want any further Imperial occupation. With this, he basically rants to an undisclosed bounty hunter, and after the mother brings her child to their apartment of sorts later on, she hears and sees footsteps under the door. They initially walk past, but return and stop in front of said door. The door bursts open, and in comes none other than Cad Bane, who stuns the mother and has Toto grab the child. Arriving at Tantus, Emerie is made chief scientist by Hemlock and is brought to the heavily secured vault that she is now in control of. However, she is presented with something unexpected to her, this being 3 Force-sensitive children who are now scientific subjects under Hemlock in the Empire, with their blood being used towards Project Necromancer. While Hemlock is away, she displays a little more care towards the children than the average Imperial would, especially after she hears them ask questions concerning when they'll be returning home, with one even stating that Nala-Se promised that she would find out that date. After some time, one of the children attempts to escape the holding room using Emerie's datapad, though he would fail and get stunned by the guarding clone commandos, who ignore Emerie's statement regarding the fact that blasters are unnecessary. Once again, further showcasing the sheer callousness of not only the Empire, but the clones loyal to that Empire. Emerie would later enter Nala-Se's cell, and Nala-Se would tell her that she did what she could for the children, but her first priority was always assisting in Omega's escape. Emerie states that there's nothing she can do and that she doesn't have the kind of power to help the children, but Nala-Se has her rethink this and essentially responds by saying that perhaps she does have the power after becoming chief scientist. After a brief private holo transmission between Hemlock and Tarkin regarding Hemlock's request for more funding towards Project Necromancer, and Tarkin's seeming disapproval and lack of confidence for said project, Emerie would arrive in the hangar bay to be greeted by Cad Bane along with the Force-sensitive infant he captured earlier, with it becoming the 4th asset she must look after while in the aforementioned vault. It seems as though Bane already has a history of carrying out these types of jumps for the Empire, but nonetheless the episode ends with Emerie Karr performing her standard procedure of following around the droid who takes blood samples of the children, but she gradually starts to see more and more the cruel and wicked ways of the Empire she serves under, especially after hearing that the child who previously attempted escape is currently isolated for 2 rotations as punishment, as well as just seeing the general look of sorrow on the faces of the other children, the children who belong with their parents and not in a facility such as this. I think this has definitely been the darkest episode of the series so far, and we even see Emerie pull out and examine the doll Omega created, eventually giving it to one of the children. As we transition into the next episode, Fijinoa arrives at a fueling station. However, as she discusses payment, the Shadow operative who survived the drop from the waterfall a few episodes ago swiftly boards her ship and retrieves information on where her ship's been via the Navicomputer, this seemingly being the method in which the Empire locates Pabu. In fact, the operative inserts the data spike into his ship's terminal and informs Imperial higher-ups of his success, sending them coordinates of a planet that Fi frequently visited. Arriving on Pabu, the batch begin preparations for their departure as they believe it's unsafe for everyone while they're still on the planet, though this is probably too late. I thought it was nice to see characters again such as Shep and the clone cadets from earlier in the season, and we also witness a scene where Omega is in the trophy room leaving behind a piece of the squad at the first place they considered home. She leaves behind Tech's goggles and the Lula doll that was given to her by Wrecker. As Wrecker begins bringing aboard the last few crates of supplies, the Shadow operative enters the atmosphere and begins scouting for a place to land while in stealth mode. He contacts the clone commandos and sends them his location and confirmation on his visual of Omega. However, he also plans several mines on the Marauder from afar using his rifle, which essentially explode on impact, destroying the modified Omicron class attack shuttle we knew since the final season of the Clone Wars. Wrecker gets in the way to protect Gonki and is subsequently knocked unconscious. As Hunter and Crosshair begin strategizing, the looming threat of the Empire breaks through hyperspace and enters orbit above Pabu. As troopers march through the streets on the island and gunships destroy any remaining vehicles from above, Clone Force 99 retreat in order to plan. Hunter works on commandeering a gunship while Crosshair and Omega watch over Wrecker. Mayor Shep would step up to the Imperials, though the operative simply states that the island will continue to burn unless Omega is handed over. As AZ continues to help Wrecker, Crosshair and Omega look over a balcony to witness the distress of the island and its people. Elsewhere on the island, a gunship transporting additional troops lands and Hunter boards the ship, taking out the TK troopers remaining on board. However, the operative shoots the pilot of the compromised vehicle to prevent Hunter from taking the controls, and he, along with the ship, plummets into the sea. Crosshair tells Omega that Hunter would want them to stick to the plan and stay with Wrecker in hiding, though Omega states that she must allow the Imperials to capture her to stop the chaos. Crosshair says that she would be taken back to Tantus, and Omega responds by telling him that that's part of the plan, as she can keep her communications device on her and Crosshair can retrieve coordinates of the base on Wayland. Crosshair states that this isn't a viable plan and begins showing clear signs of a developed attachment to Omega, though she would say that this is all they have and it's her choice to go. As the Imperials are just about to torch the houses of the citizens, Omega surrenders herself and says that they can take her and leave the innocents alone. They scan her for tracking devices and of course discover one, seizing it and taking her aboard the operative's vessel. Fighting off TK troopers, Crosshair takes aim at the ship to plant a tracker but ends up missing the shot, watching Omega be taken off back to Tantus, where her time there now will be far worse than the first. I think next week we'll get a whole thing where Crosshair is disappointed in himself and Hunter might push him around a little bit for it, but ultimately they'll work together along with Rex and the other clones to work on a plan in order to free Omega and the other clones held captive at Tantus. I think this is what the whole series is ultimately leading to, a final clone uprising. Anyhow, I don't really have much else to say, though I am interested to see what occurs next week. Regardless, have a great day. See ya.